You're listening to The Safety and the Sportswriter on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, everybody. We are back, and we're back through May already. It's the 24th of May, getting ready for a big Memorial Day weekend coming up. We had a big weekend of sports last weekend. It is now officially the year of the old man. Lefty wins the PGA at 50. Brady won the Super Bowl at 43. LeBron is, trying to become a guy to win it at 36, which I know that's been done before. I think Jabbar did it when he was older, but still, that's kind of late the way he plays to be doing it. So I guess we can't rule anybody out anymore, huh, Nate?
This is one of the most significant victories in golf ever. I mean, it really is. I'm not trying to, make it bigger than it is, but this is one of the biggest victories of all time. Phil Mickelson was ranked 115th in the world going into this event. Phil Mickelson was, also 200-1 favorite to win this event. Phil Mickelson had not won a major since 2013 before he won on Sunday. It's just crazy to me that he actually came out and won this when, he hasn't even been competing in a lot of tournaments recently, much less winning them. And for him to put together 4 rounds like this, it shows you what kind of golfer he is, and it's truly amazing. I'm happy for him. This is a guy, whether you like or hate Phil Mickelson, you have to respect his golf game. He's got one of the greatest short games of all time, and got another major. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I honestly did not think when someone asked me who I thought was going to win the PGA, I did not envision Phil Mickelson winning this one.
Well, I mean, it's a great achievement. I'm not going to say it. It reminds me of Jack late in his career when he won the Masters. Tiger when he came back from his surgery and won, I don't know if it was the PGA or U.S. Open. It was that kind of a moment, and it's good for golf. It's what golf needs right now with no Tiger and seemingly the rest of this crew of up-and-comers don't seem to want to grab the mantle. I mean, that's the one thing I will say, and it doesn't darken what Phil did because all he can do is play his game. But you look around and you see a Dustin Johnson who doesn't make the cut. You see, Rory McIlroy. When is he going to find his game again? Spieth. All these guys. I mean, we've talked about it a couple of times at how it makes what Tiger did during his reign so much more impressive because he did it week to week. It's like these guys take a week off. I mean, and the one thing, love or hate Tiger, he always treated the majors with respect. He knew that those were the weekends he wanted to be ready to play with. And these guys, if you can't get up for a major, I mean, I know golf is a grind. I know they're out there all the weekends, and God bless them. I mean, they get paid well, but still, it is a grind to be out there every weekend playing golf. But 4 weekends a year, I mean, you got to be able to set your sights on those if you're one of these young guys, because we're not going to have Mickelson forever. Tiger's probably done. This next generation seems to be, sometimes treat their golf careers as a part-time activity. I don't know. What do you think?
Brooks Koepka has won, a lot of these PGAs here recently, and he was right there. He had a chance to win this. He's the one guy that's been really, really consistent, except for when he's been injured. He's had several injuries over the last couple of years, and that's what's kind of kept Brooks from kind of taking over. But these other guys have just been inconsistent. Dustin Johnson, you mentioned, Spieth. He was winning every tournament 3 or 4 years ago, and he is yet to be able to come back and put a string of victories together like he was doing. But man, look at this scene. I mean, look at all these people.
Oh, it's great. And it's great.
It's so cool just to watch watch them follow him down 18. I mean, I haven't seen a gallery like that. Especially, I haven't seen a gallery in a long time, thanks to COVID. But to see, these fans going nuts like this, I mean, you're right. This is what golf needed right now. And kudos to him, man. 50 years old, winning a tournament like this. He was the only one that could keep it together. Everybody else had a shot to win this thing. Louis Oosthuizen and Koepka, they all had a chance to win this, and they didn't want it. And Phil wanted to win it, and he put together the round to do it on Sunday.
And it is. I was too young for when this guy was at his best, but it is kind of reminiscent if you see the old films of Arnold Palmer and how the gallery followed Palmer when he was at his best. And
Arnie's Army.
Exactly. And Phil's, it has a lot of Arnie in him. Even though he plays lefty and Arnie was a right-hander, he's kind of been the people's champion. I'm not a Phil Mickelson fan, I'll tell you right now, but he does have that effect on the golf fans because he plays that style of, lack of a term, what to the wall golf, and he's going to go for his shots. And if he makes them, it's spectacular. If he misses them, it's a spectacular miss. But it's still, you got to respect the way he plays, and not, like you say, might be one of the most talented golfers inside 200 yards you'll ever see in your lifetime. As far as once he gets around the green or within sight of the green, he has the ability to put the ball anywhere he damn well pleases.
Yeah, his short game is probably one of the best of all time, if not the best. And what I thought was a really cool stat was he became the first golfer ever to win a tournament at one time and then win another tournament 30 years later. So I thought that was kind of cool. His first victory ever came when he was still an amateur at Arizona State in 1991. And then in 2021, he wins the PGA. And I thought that was pretty cool, considering nobody had ever done that. And it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, he's the fourth golfer I read to win a tournament in 4 decades. The fourth one to do it. And, of course, on Facebook, they say, well, when's the last time a Major League Baseball or NFL or NHL or NBA player did? I go, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Golf, you can't translate golf into one of these other sports because a lot of guys in golf play for 20 years at the highest, and not maybe at the highest level, but they're on tour for 20 years. So they can play in 40 decades. Not many of these other players in team sports make it 20 years. So it was like one of those usual ones, that, just like the Hall of Fame stuff that everybody brings up that drives me crazy. So, yeah, again, congratulations to Lefty. Nice job. Let's see what he can do. I mean, if he could have a meaningful summer, at least be in the running the rest of the summer, maybe he sparks these guys, the ones we talked about that seemingly can't find their games or can't find that competitive edge to get into it. So it'd be nice to see. At least it would give us something interesting to watch on a golf Sunday. We had the NBA playoffs, of course, start up. We'll start out with, we might as well start right out with the Knicks. On a night when their two best players were not playing their best, they had the game in hand and then let it get away. And around here, of course, Thibodeau's starting to get face to fire because of the way he used his rotation. Of course, everybody they've got the pitchforks out to go after these guys. You and I were both talking on the phone when the end of this game was going on, so we both found out later what happened, but we both looked at it later. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought the Knicks played pretty good. They fell apart a little bit in the fourth quarter, but I mean, let's be honest, they were right there with a chance to win. Against a team that had the exact same record as them. So, did they lose? Yeah. But, let's be honest, no one really even thought that the Knicks would be here. So, they're right there. The game is tied with 9 seconds to go. They've got a pretty decent defensive set up right here that just got the wrong guy on Trae Young. Frank cannot stick with him, and why he had him guarding him, I don't know. But am I going to rip coach for that. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, he had an amazing year. The Knicks overachieved by everybody's standards, and they lost game one. So, yeah, that sucked. But the series is not over. They still had a chance here at the very end to win it, and they got the ball to Julius. It just didn't go in. So,
that was one thing that they were tearing apart yesterday. It was the choice of Ntilikina on him, considering Ntilikina didn't play most of the game. And I had said last week, I think you remember, I thought that Trae Young would be a problem for these guys. The way the Knicks, and it's not like I know anything more than anybody else. That's an easy pick to make, because coming into this to the tournament, to come into the playoffs, the Knicks point guard situation is problematic. Peyton is not playing well at all. Ntilikina is not playing. Is not somebody consistently you can hang your hat on. Derrick Rose is really a part-time player now. I would go with the young guy. I would just say, he's going to have to be our point guard of the future. Now, might as well get his feet wet. I would put him out there and see what I got.
Yeah, I don't really get why he put Frank out there. That was like the only time he played the whole game, and quickly he's got to get more minutes, in my opinion. He played 20 minutes, but they were +6 with him on the court. He had 10 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. I thought he played pretty well and is a better defensive option. Randall did not have his best game. He was 6 of 23 from the floor. That's not a good shooting night, but he had 12 rebounds and 4 assists. So 15 points, 12 rebounds. That's not horrible. Just didn't shoot the ball very well. And RJ Barrett had 14 and 11. That's a pretty good night for him. You'd like to see a little bit more scoring, but it is what it is. Derrick Rose, actually had 17 points and was 8 of 16 from the field. So he probably shot the best out of those 3. But this is what we've talked about since the beginning of the season. They need another scoring option. They need somebody else that can hit shots, somebody that can take some of the pressure off of Julius Randle and, help RJ Barrett, because, after that, there's really not much there.
Yeah, the thing about that really, as a lot of guys, and this is the thing, is Randle will be scrutinized and everything, but remember one thing, that he's going to be the number one option everybody's going to try and shut down anyway. So we know he's going to have problems. They're going to rotate the defense to him. He's going to find double coverage. He's going to get probably banged around a little bit when he's trying to get open. So it's going to be hard to imagine Randle having the freedom to have a good series, because that's what everybody's going to look at. We shut him down, we'll take our chances with the rest of this team.
No, you're right. And they did that. They had a good game plan. You have to give the Hawks credit. I didn't really think they would step up their play like they did, but they played well defensively and got stops when they needed to. And they took the game one in MSG. So kudos to them.
And let's see, what's the next playoffs that you want to take a look at?
Well, I'd say my favorite game was definitely the Bucks versus the Heat. Great matchup. I thought these two teams both had a chance to win the entire thing, and are both potential finals teams for the East. And I was kind of shocked to see these two matched up, but the Heat season didn't really go as they planned it. So they got to play Giannis in the first round, and Jimmy Buckets hit a great shot to send this game into overtime with Giannis on him. But in overtime, the Bucks got the last shot. It came down here where they're down 3, and Goran hits a 3-pointer to tie it, and they're kind of going nuts and thinking, wow, maybe we got a shot here if we can just stop them. But Middleton, he's probably their best mid-range player. And I really liked what the coaching staff did here, setting up this play, letting Middleton kind of create his own mid-range shot, because that's what was going to be open with the Heat stack in the middle. They really didn't want to get, Giannis to get the ball down low, and that shot was contested. but definitely the best option. And watch the crowd go nuts here. These are the people standing outside of the arena. Look at them. They're going crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've got, there's what, 15,000 inside, and there's probably 20,000 outside watching this game. So pretty cool. Was a great basketball game. That was my takeaway, is that this was a great basketball game against two really good teams. And, they can't make fun of the Bucks and call the Bucks jokers because they ended up winning it at the end, but it was a really, really good game.
All right. So far, Memphis stole one from Utah. Dallas took one off the Clippers. Portland's up on Denver, and Phoenix is up on the Lakers out west.
Yeah, the Suns had a pretty good game, and you got to give them credit. They came out and played hard. DeAndre Ayton had a really good game, 21 points and double-digit rebounds, and they had a great game plan. But if you listen to the post-game press conferences, AD came out and took a lot of the blame, and I actually agree with him.
Yeah.
Didn't play very well. He wasn't hitting shots. He wasn't very aggressive. I mean, look at him out here standing down at the 3-point line. I mean, the Lakers are so much more effective when he plays the 5 and gets involved down low. And I like Andre Drummond. I really do. I think he was a great addition to this team, and I think he really does help them compared to some of the other guys they have. But they have to have Anthony Davis involved. He has to be, their second option, if not their first option. And a night where he goes 5 of 16 from the floor and finishes with 13 points, that ain't going to cut it.
Any word on Chris Paul's shoulder? Anything we heard today about him?
Yeah, it's a contusion, is what I've heard, and he's going to try and play. He's banged up, but this has kind of been his MO. I mean, he's been banged up the last couple of years when he played for OKC, when he played for Houston. He seemed to kind of be banged up and injured in the playoffs, and I would hate to see it happen to him again. But I can tell you that if he isn't not able to play, or if he's not 100%, the Lakers' chances to go and come back and win the series, they go up exponentially, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the other side, the East, Philly took out Washington. But we just talked about the Knicks, Milwaukee. We talked about Brooklyn taking care of business against Boston. Do you think Boston will be able to put up some kind of a fight there?
No, I don't. I watched that whole game also, and
I watched the first half of it. I was like, I thought it showed some flashes early, but then no.
Yeah, no. I mean, they played really hard. I mean, I will give the Celtics credit. It was kind of an off night for Tatum, shooting, going 6 of 20 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3-point land. It was not. He didn't have his best game. Kemba Walker. 5 of 16. He didn't have his best shooting performance. So it didn't go great for them. But I'm looking at these two rosters, and I'm looking at the two starting 5s, and the Celtics are starting Evan Fournier. I mean, this is what you got for your playoff run to save your coach's job, and you're marching out Evan Fournier to start the game. I mean, I don't understand why they don't put Robert Williams out there to start. He needs to be playing more minutes. Fournier played 39 minutes, and Williams only played 23, and he almost had a double-double. He had 11 points. He had 9 blocks. He had 9 rebounds. And I think really the only reason for it is that Williams has had some injury problems. And he's got some problems with his foot, I believe, and so they're kind of limiting his minutes. But they need Williams to be out there dogging it up if they're going to even make this a series. But it didn't look good in Game 1. There was not enough options out there for Boston, in my opinion.
Well, and the other thing is, man, if you talk about saving the coach's job, it's the coach who's making the decision on the rotation. So maybe he doesn't want to save his own job. Maybe he wants out of there.
I don't know. I mean, I just thought that I thought that this would go differently for him. I thought Brad Stevens would be a really good professional coach, just the way that he did. But you just never know how these coaches are going to translate from college basketball to the NBA. It's a completely different game. It's a completely different job, and it doesn't always work out for everybody that's had success in the college ranks. Once they get to the NBA, it doesn't always work.
Well, I think it hardly ever works, really, because it is so much more the player's game in the NBA. But I will say that, I don't think Brad Stevens, compared to some of the other coaches I've seen try and make the transition, I don't think he's done an extremely bad job. I just think Danny Ainge is not giving him the right pieces of the puzzle. I mean, they tried the Kyrie Irving experiment. That didn't work. They brought in the Kemba Walker experiment, and for a while it looked like, that could be the right choice. But then he, Kemba's his own body seems to be breaking down on him. So I think right now Brad Stevens' situation is the fact that he's dealing with a bad hand, and as you see on our screen from Mayhem Clyde, Jaylen Brown.
I'm glad he said that, because I actually really agree with that. When I was talking about Fournier, I should have mentioned that Jaylen Brown, not being there is a big deal. And I agree with Clyde there. If Jaylen Brown was out on the court and Jaylen Brown was playing, I think that the Celtics would have a chance. And without him, it's tough, because not only can Jaylen Brown drop 25 points a game easy, he also is one of their best defensive players, if not the best defensive player they have. And not having him is definitely huge. And I want to punch myself in the face for not mentioning that earlier, because Clyde is 100% right. That was the difference in the game. I mean, they lost by 9 or 10 points. You put Jaylen Brown out there on defense and get his 25 points, and we may be talking about a different outcome.
When you look at the combination, and by the way, we got Jonathan Wade coming up in about 8 minutes, former UT standout and professional cornerback. Give us a little football talk going on after the 7:30 hour. But when you look at the remaining teams in there, how would you rate the coaches? Who would you rate? Give me your best 2 coaches and your worst 2 coaches.
Man, that's a tough one. As far as like the best coach that's going out there, I mean, I really like Doc, and I'm probably alone on that. But, this is a guy that's won a championship before, and this is a guy that can motivate his team. And I think that's what gives the 76ers a chance, is that they've got Doc. And I know they discarded him in L.A. and didn't want anything to do with him, but this is a guy who's won a championship before. This is a guy that was a tremendous basketball player himself. And this is a guy that can get his guys, his team to believe in what he's preaching, and can get the most out of his players. So, I like him. And, this is something too we talked about last year, Spoelstra. I know the Heat lost game 1, but Spoelstra is a pretty good coach. And he did a tremendous job last year getting his team to the finals. And I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves.
Any of the coaches that you think that are just overrated and just ride along for the ride?
I know
it's hard to say.
I don't really want to rip on anybody.
Come on.
I think anybody that's got their team into the playoffs is a pretty good coach, especially that's gotten them this far and they're still playing or got through the playing games. I don't know really what to think of Steve Nash yet, just because let's be honest, the Brooklyn Nets have made it where they've made it thus far. Playing, they're playing a game that I don't know. I don't want to use the wrong words here, but as far as like fundamental basketball goes, it's a lot of 1-and-1 out there. A lot of one guy taking on one guy, using what the 3 guys they have. This was only the 9th time that they've had the big three or their big three out there at the same time. And, so they don't have a ton of experience playing together, but I just don't see the ball movement. I don't see, the type of offensive scheme that I think could make them more effective. I'm not ripping on Steve Nash. I'm not saying he's obviously, got them to the playoffs and, he's done a pretty decent job considering they've had a lot of injuries, but I would like to see them, play more on a team basketball, I guess.
It's just amazing around here when you listen to sports talk radio, when you go to the back pages of the newspapers, when you go online, how the Knicks are so much the bigger story than the Nets. I mean,
yeah,
the Nets. I mean, you got arguably three of the top 15 players in the NBA there, or at least if you polled the NBA, those three would be in the top 15. You and I might not agree with some of their assessments, but I mean, and still with all that star power, they can't take the attention away from the Knicks, who are a great story because they overachieved with a good new coach, and you got to love the romanticism of them rising from the ashes to make it to the playoffs. But still, I mean, you would think it's like the exact opposite of the Yankee effect in town. The Yankees go out and they buy a superstar from another team. They do what they're supposed to do. They make the playoffs. They're a prohibitive favorite to make the finals and maybe win it all. And everybody's like jumping up and down like it's the greatest thing they've ever seen before. And meanwhile, when the Brooklyn follows the same kind of program, no one cares.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with, the history. I mean, you live up there and I've got family up there and I've spent a lot of time up there. It's Knicks basketball. I mean, the Knicks, even when the Knicks suck, they sell out MSG and people care. Even when the Knicks suck, people like to complain about the Knicks, and that's all they talk about, even when they're no good.
Well, that's the really big thing, because you hear that anger and that pain for the last 3 years, and how the heartbreak of watching their beloved Knicks being, torn apart by James Dolan and everything else, and they're so willing, like Pavlov's dog, to sit there and turn it around and go, "I'm back. Just give me more of that Kool-Aid."
Yeah, no, it's true, but I think winning cures all. So if the Nets can make a run and win the title, there'll be a lot of Nets fans everywhere. So
yeah, well, I'm sure there's some guys that have both sets of jerseys in their closet ready to go to whip it out for the victory parade, whichever way it goes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One thing I did want to say, we're talking a lot of basketball here, but I do think it's worth noting, there's some big news on the NFL front right now, and that's, in Atlanta. It's kind of hard to believe that Atlanta's, in the news for NFL after the season they had. But, everyone's been talking about since they drafted Kyle Pitts, how effective and how amazing their offense is going to be, having Matty Ryan, having Kyle Pitts, having Julio, having Calvin Ridley, and apparently they're not going to have Julio because the Falcons are shopping him around, and they're going to get rid of him. And I think a lot of it has to do with the money. I mean, I think they're up against the cap a little bit, and I think I just think they're hurting for cash, and I think that's why. But I just think keeping Julio Jones would make them a team that nobody could really defend. You got Kyle Pitts, you got Calvin Ridley, you've got Julio Jones. I mean, these are guys that can all be double covered and still catch the football. So I really thought they might keep him. But if they are going to move him, I would expect it to be done before June 2nd, because that's the line when they're going to be on the hook for the salary. And, based on what I'm hearing, they're trying to get a first-round draft pick for him. Julio was interviewed today, and they asked him, "What's the status? What are you thinking?" And he said, "I'm out of here."
Well, the thing is, I can't blame him for wanting to get out of there. But I tell you, it's another question that we were asking throughout the season, and also throughout when we were building up to the draft is it wise for Atlanta to hang on to Matty Ice? And now this is where you're sitting there going, what is the plan for Atlanta? Okay, you're getting rid of Julio Jones, like you said. Julio Jones could have been an important mentor to Pitts. He's still effective. He still could have been another good target for Matty Ice. And now you're taking away Matty Ice's weapons. You're in a division with, Tom Brady, with New Orleans still there. And, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like they really don't know what they want to do yet. Do they want to rebuild? Do they want to retool? Do they want to compete? What do they want to do?
Well, I think when they drafted Kyle Pitts, they said that they want to win right now. And
I don't give up Jones.
I know. I'm just saying when they drafted, when they drafted Kyle Pitts, it just seemed to me like they're keeping their quarterback intact, and they're ready to win right now. And getting rid of Julio Jones isn't going to help Matt Ryan. I can assure you of that. He's been there for his entire career, 10 years. Matt Ryan has had Julio Jones out there. And I know, he was banged up last year, but it's not like Julio Jones has missed a ton of games. I mean, He's the guy that has been in the saddle for most of his career. He's pretty durable. I know he doesn't practice every week, but come Sunday, Julio's usually out there. And, I think it's very interesting that one of his teams that he wants to go to is the Patriots. And I think, I think that would be, just bittersweet for those Falcons fans if they lose Julio Jones and then he goes to the Patriots, the team that came back from the 28-3 deficit.
Yeah, it would be highly ironic. But I mean, and it's kind of, I think that way it makes sense in a lot of ways. But I mean, I don't know if Cam Newton, if I'm Julio Jones, if I want to go to New England and be with Cam Newton, I might look at a couple of different places before I go there. I'm depending on the money situation, how much people are willing to pay. I might look at different place to go to with a chance to go to the championship. But starting with maybe Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore's kind of gone young, though. I mean, they drafted 2 wide receivers in the draft. They signed Sammy Watkins. I'm not saying that they couldn't use Julio Jones out there, but they've gone pretty young with their with their draft picks and with their signings. I mean, I think they're pretty much set with where they're at and with the cap. I think that Julio's, it's going to be interesting to see where he does go. But I do think, he wants to go to a winning organization. The Patriots are a winning organization. I know they went 7-9 last year, but they had half their team opting out. They were missing their, 6-time Super Bowl winning quarterback for the first time. And Cam was still learning the offense. Do I think Cam is going to win the MVP this year? No, I don't. But I do think he's going to be better in year 2 of Josh McDaniels' offense. And I think he'll be more effective throwing the football. Plus, he's going to have some targets.
Well, the other thing I think that and totally agree with you here is it's not going to be Josh McDaniels' offense anymore. I think, after a year together and an off season, I think Belichick will walk up to McDaniel and say, well, you got to come up with something totally different, something that works with what we know what his skill set is, what he can do now. Stop trying to mold him into Cam 2015 or Brady, what we would work with Brady. We got to see the things he can do now and give him the weapons that'll help him, accentuate that. And then we'll see how good Cam can be.
Hey, you know what? The first couple of games of the year, Cam came out strong. I mean, you remember that Seattle Seahawks game where he threw for 400 yards and was also running the ball. And it just seemed like, after that, he, had the COVID issue and then he had some injuries and he never got it back together. But to give Cam a little bit of leeway here, who the hell was he throwing the ball to? I mean, that receiving core was just it was a joke.
It might have been, like we said, that might have been Belichick's best coaching job ever.
I agree.
To get into 7 wins with what he had, where just showed you how good a coach he is. So we'll see. Still waiting for Jonathan Wade. We might as well start with what are we going to go into? We were going to talk football in the second half anyways.
Yeah, we were going to talk a little bit about the best free agents still available. There are guys that are still out there. There's guys that are on the street. I think one of the biggest issues is obviously, something we've talked about all year long, the cap trouble that's going on. I mean, this is the first time in recent history, maybe ever in the NFL, where they've had the cap go backwards, due to COVID, due to the things that have occurred in this country. The cap didn't go up its normal 10, 15%, and teams are having to, deal with that in different ways. And what that's left is that there's still a very viable string of free agents that are out there and that are available.
Do you think that any of the price tags are going to come down, or are these guys going to hold fast on this? I think they're going to have to maybe bring their price tag down a little bit, at least.
Yeah, no, I think part of the issue is that some of these guys want to get paid what they're used to getting paid, but that's not going to happen. The other thing is that these guys want to get multi-year contracts. Well, that's also not going to happen. Most deals that have been done and have been completed have been one-year deals. I mean, that's just what people are doing right now. They're trying to get guys that they can in there. They say, hey, come here for a year. Next year when the cap goes back up, when we get our cap situation fixed, we'll give you a long-term deal. Whether or not that happens, I don't know, but I think that's what these guys are dealing with. And a lot of them are going to have to make decisions on whether or not they want to play for less money, whether or not they want to sign a one-year deal, because that may be the option for some of them. Now, a few may decide to sit out and wait and see if there's an injury, because there will be injuries. There'll be guys going down in camp. There'll be guys going down in the preseason. There'll be guys going down week one. And these free agents that are on the street will be the ones that will benefit from that.
Let's talk about a few of them. Let's go through some names.
Definitely. I would say right now, and I'm not going to do these in any order, but I am going to give you the guys that I think are the best dudes out there. And one of them has to be Richard Sherman. I mean, whether you like Richard Sherman or not, he is a guy that, knows how to play football. He's a guy that is a little bit long in the tooth. However, I think his smarts and his football knowledge make up for anything that he's lost. Did he have the same type of season in 2020 that he had in 2019? No. But he was a little banged up. And also, the pass rush wasn't there. Nick Bosa went down. Solomon Thomas went down. Frank Clark wasn't there. A lot of their guys that they had that were, wreaking havoc on the quarterback the previous year were not playing. And I think, obviously, when the guy has more time to sit back there and throw, that affects what the DBs, can do. So I still think Richard Sherman's got gas left in the tank. I think he can help a team that, is good and is a playoff team. And I think eventually he'll get picked up. It's coming down to bucks right now with him.
Well, I think first of all, I think you got to go to him. For him, I would assume, and I might be wrong on this, that you got to go to a team that plays a lot of zone. And you could maybe use him on the slot rather than as the number one or two, cornerback. He's not the shutdown corner anymore. I don't know how well he was really as a one-on-one corner. He in that the defense when the Legion of Boom, they played a lot of zone, if I remember it right. And he played one side of the field. I wouldn't mind seeing him, to tell you the truth, if for the right package, I wouldn't mind seeing him come and play in the Meadowlands for the Giants. I mean, we've got a lot of young, as a fan, a lot of young defensive backs sitting there back there that could learn from him, and two solid cornerbacks where he could be the slot guy. He could be, moved around to a lot of different, a lot of different ways. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think he's more effective on the outside. I really do. I just don't think he's got that quickness to cover slot guys, doing the crossing routes and things like that. But, I do think that he can help a team that has some younger corners. Obviously, he can teach them how to play. Raiders, as Clyde said, I agree with him again. I think the Raiders would be a good fit, but the Raiders need a lot of help on defense. They need help on the back end. They need help on the front end. Me being a Buckeye, I like Damon Arnett, but he did not have the type of rookie season that I think they expected. I think the Raiders aren't done. I think they still will add some pieces. There was talk of him possibly going to the Jets and following his coach, Robert Saleh from the Niners. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he wants to go somewhere that has a better chance of making the playoffs. I've heard rumblings about a possible return to Seattle. I don't see that happening either. But there's also talk of the Cowboys being interested, and Jerry seems to always be able to bring those veterans in, when he needs them. Whether or not that'll happen, I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. That much I do know.
Yeah, another team, that's out there. Everybody's trying to get on this team supposedly because they've now become everybody's happy team is the Browns. It seems like everybody is mentioned to be going there, so that could be another landing zone from him. Who's another guy out there?
Yeah, while we're talking about Sherman, I think another guy to bring up is KJ Wright. KJ Wright is an excellent linebacker. KJ Wright, only is off of the Seahawks roster because of financial constraints. It has nothing to do with his play. He's got gas left in the tank. I think KJ understands the business, and I don't think he's not going to play for peanuts, and I don't blame him. Linebackers only have so long in this league before they try and replace you with younger guys and faster guys and dudes that are cheaper. And I think KJ understands that, and that's why he wants to be in the right situation. He's not going to come back for nothing, and he's not going to just give the Seahawks a hometown discount. And I think KJ could help somebody tremendously, not only with his play on the field and the way that he can stuff the run and also play pretty decently in coverage, but also the way that he can, set the defense up, call the defense, and, make things happen and be a playmaker. So I love KJ Wright. I think he's going to end up on a roster. I just don't know when and where.
Well, you're totally right. He's a solid player. I would say, teams that might need him, Chargers wouldn't be a bad spot for him to end up in. It's another team who's on the rise. Of course, I'm going to probably say everybody for Cleveland. Miami.
Yeah, I could see him in Miami. I also think that the Washington football team needs some help in linebacker. So I could see him going and playing for Chico. I
think Clyde is a Raider fan.
No, hey, Clyde's right, man. Anybody that's good on defense, Raiders would be a good spot for him because they could start and they could definitely make that team better. So, I think he's joking there, but I think Clyde's right. Once again, man, the Raiders could use him. There's no doubt about that.
Something tells me Clyde is a Raider fan. I don't know. Something's got to tell me that.
I don't know, but that was damn funny. That cracked me up.
Who we got next?
Okay, so another guy that's really still on the street simply because of his injuries, and that's Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram has been a productive pass rusher throughout his career in San Diego and Los Angeles for the Chargers. This is a guy that's put up double-digit sacks number of times. I think Melvin Ingram's got gas left in the tank. He obviously benefited from Joey Bosa being on the other side of him the last couple of years, or 2019. 2020, his season was kind of marred with injury. So, his second contract definitely went better than his first. It's just, will he get a third? I don't know. I think somebody's going to bring him in. Somebody's going to give him a chance. I just don't know whether this may be a guy that may have to wait. He's a dude that, might have to wait and see if somebody's, struggling during the preseason, not getting the type of pass rush that they'd hoped, or like I mentioned in the beginning of the segment, if somebody goes down with an injury, I think Melvin could step right in.
What's his age again?
That's a good question. I know he's played for a while. He played for South Carolina Gamecocks 2010. So, he's been in the league for a while. But I'm not sure exactly how old he is. He's definitely pushing 30. I can tell you that.
Yeah. There's a guy I could see. There's another guy I could see maybe with the Redskins. Dallas might be another ending place for him.
they've talked the Colts, the Chiefs, and also the Giants are on his list as potential landing spots for Melvin Ingram. I think all three of those would be pretty good too.
The Giants definitely, and any quality we can bring in to help my boys out, I'm for. So I wouldn't mind seeing him in the Meadowlands. Who do we got next?
All right, another guy that's still on the street is a dude that once again is out there because of injury, and that's Mitchell Schwartz, the tackle from Kansas City. This is a guy who I believe he had back surgery, and that's what's holding him out. I think the Chiefs would have gone and just brought him back right away, except for the fact that he had back surgery. Somebody's going to take a chance on him. The guy on the opposite side, Eric Fisher, he blew out his Achilles, and he's already been signed to the Colts. So I think that Schwartz will get signed too, just because there's not that many tackles out there that can play. And so I see him getting signed. The Bears, the Chiefs, the Packers, the Raiders, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Titans all have needs, and I think all of them may bring him in. And obviously he's not a guy that's going to start on day one anyway, but this is a guy that could be around in October, November, when you need somebody out there protecting your quarterback.
And also, if you have a young line, a guy can add some stability, come in there with his experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a guy that knows how to play. There's no doubt about that. It's just, what's he got left? What's it going to be like after the injury? Can he pass a physical? I mean, that's one of the biggest things with Mitchell Schwartz is can he pass a physical? I don't know if he can right now. I'm guessing he probably can't, and that's why he's sitting at home.
Yeah, the back is a huge thing. Go ahead. Who we got next?
Well, another one is a couple running backs. There's obviously a bunch of running backs that are still available. Just a couple of them to name. I mean, we could go through this entire list, but, I think Duke Johnson's going to get signed. I could see him going somewhere to help. He's not an every down back that's going to bell cow, toting the rock 20 times a game. But this is a guy that can come out of the backfield and give you a spark. I thought he was one of the few bright spots on the Texans last year. And, I expect somebody to pick him up. I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that no one signed him up to this point.
Yeah, I liked him when he was with the Browns. I thought he had he had a good role there when Chubb was first there, but then you got Hunt, and it was like, there's no sense in keeping me sticking around, so I could see him wanting to get out of there. Yeah, I mean, at least he's one of those guys who can, at least like you said, he's got more to offer than just 20 carries a game.
Yeah, I agree. And, Le'Veon Bell is still out there. I mean, that's a guy who, it didn't ever really pan out in Kansas City for him. Obviously, it didn't pan out in New York, but they didn't really use him either place. I didn't like the way that they used him in New York. I didn't like the way that they used him in Kansas City. They didn't really use him at all in Kansas City. And this is a guy that was the best running back in the league for years. And I just don't believe that he can't run the football anymore. I think in the right scheme, in the right place, maybe he's not an every down back anymore, but I think this is a guy that can come in and help somebody if they need depth at the running back position.
Well, what makes him a mystery is the fact that he isn't dealing with injuries, okay? And he hasn't been used a lot, like you said. With New York, I mean, his legs are basically fresh. He hasn't taken a big pounding over the last 3 years, and he had a year off before that. So there's something missing there that we don't know about. Obviously, if I was him, I would sit there, he made his money. I would put my tail between my legs, go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers and say, I know you, you know me. You're trying to squeeze more year out of Ben. Tomlinson, the coach knows him well, Mike Tomlin. So it kind of begs the question, why wouldn't they bring him in to just add a little stability to Ben?
No, I agree. I think that would be the perfect spot for him. I just think past history may prevent that from happening. But bring him in, have him be Najee Harris's backup, have him be the third down back for the Steelers. I mean, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, or he could, just as good as anybody. And to be honest, I'm not in love with any of the guys on the Steelers roster, on third down. I mean, I think Najee Harris can do it all. So I think he'll get some catches. But, Benny Snell is a dude that I like, but I'm not in love with his pass catching ability. McFarland, same thing. I like him running the ball, but I don't think he's the greatest pass catcher. He can do it, but, I'm not in love with him either. So I think Le'Veon would be good to go back home if he could, if those fences were mended, so to speak.
Well, I think it would be a right move to make, just because, like you said, if Najee and him split the carries, we saw how Ben, at the end of last year, his arm was gone. I don't think he can throw 60 times a game anymore. No, I don't think there are quarterbacks that can throw 60 times a game, but especially not at 36, 37 years old. So that even a little pride there. Like I said, go in there to the Rooneys, go in there to Tomlin and go, hey, I went for the money. It didn't work out. It worked out for me financially, but the rest of my career has been in a shambles. I'm ready to say I made a mistake and come back.
That would be great if they could do it. I would love to see it, but we'll see what happens. And just, we don't have to go through all these guys, but I will say a couple of interior guys that I think will end up on rosters. Geno Atkins, a dude that has been a perennial Pro Bowl player for the Bengals. He was a cap casualty, but I think a guy that, I don't know what he's got left, but I do think he's got a year or two that he could play on a limited basis and help somebody out. Same thing with Jarrell Casey, a guy who 2-3 years ago was dominating for the Titans and just, had injuries in Denver, which kind of limited his production, but somebody that could still, help out against the run. Justin Houston is still out there, an edge rusher that, played with the Chiefs and then was on the Colts. I could see him possibly returning to the Chiefs. I know that hasn't been ruled out, and I think that could happen. And then, a guy that had double-digit sacks last year is your boy from, New York who played in Cleveland last year, Olivier Vernon. This guy, I'm kind of shocked he didn't get signed and hasn't been signed because he had a pretty damn good season last year with 10-plus sacks.
Yeah, but isn't he coming off of isn't he coming off an Achilles problem?
I mean, yeah, he did have a week 17 Achilles injury. You are correct. So that may be limiting him somewhat and may be the reason why, but 10 sacks, pretty good for an edge guy in a 3-4.
Yeah, but that Achilles, it's if you never have that explosiveness out of that step again, and it takes 2 years, I think, with the Achilles to get back, if you get back at all.
I know, but did he tear it? I can't remember.
I thought he did. I thought he tear. I thought it was a full tear.
I didn't know if he did or not. I couldn't remember if he fully tore it. If he did, then no, don't sign him. But I thought it was just an injury where he had an Achilles pull. I didn't know he tore it off the bone because that's not good. Yeah,
I just think that he's got he's had a good career. I have to say he did well with the Giants for a couple of years. He did not so well with the Giants for a couple of years, but I think he's kind of gone. His career is kind of gone. Any college stuff with him? I'm looking quick around here that we can cover. Unfortunately, our guest did not get in here tonight, but we'll see if we can get him in back again. Anything else we got on the burner here?
Yeah, I mean, we were going to talk a little bit about the quarterback situation and the depth charts because there's some quarterback situations that I'm not liking, and I've got them ranked. But I can tell you, number one is Tennessee. I hate their quarterback situation.
Oh yeah,
obviously I like Brian Tannehill. I think he's pretty good. I think he's doing just a fine job as long as he stays healthy. The Titans should be okay, but behind him, they've got nothing. They've got Logan Woodside, who's never taken a meaningful snap in the NFL, and then they've got Deshaun Kaiser behind him. So I do not like that situation. Probably number two is the Dallas Cowboys. You saw what happened last year when Dak went down. Things weren't going great to begin with, but they certainly didn't get better with the Red Rocket back there. And they don't even have him anymore. So I'm not really sure what they're doing. with their quarterback depth chart. I'm looking at these guys, Cooper Rush, just the dudes they had last year, they still have Gilbert. I'm not in love with any of those guys, and I don't think it's a great situation. My number 3 is going to make you really happy. That's the New York Giants. I do not like what they have behind Daniel Jones. I mean, there's nobody pushing him. There's nobody that can come in and possibly win 2 games if they have a 4-game stretch, where Jones is out. Mike Glennon, Clayton Thorson. I don't even know who the hell Clayton Thorson is.
Northwestern. His father played for the Giants. I think it's a legacy situation. His father's played for the Giants back in the 60s or 70s, a backup tight end.
Yeah, but, I'm just saying he's not good. And I would not count on him to win me 3 games out of 4. I mean, Mike Glennon, I never understand how that guy keeps getting jobs. I really don't know. And if someone can answer that, please do. Maybe Clyde knows how Mike Glennon keeps getting work.
He works cheap, I guess.
That's the thing. He keeps getting all this money thrown at him, and I don't understand why. He's never really been good, and he's not going to be good.
No, he's been given chances. I mean, I do worry about the Giants with that. I mean, Danny Dimes, his rookie year was definitely better than his second year. He digressed last year. Maybe it was because, no Saquon Barkley, Ingram dropping a few key passes where they could have won some games, didn't help him a lot. It is the time he's got to shine, and the offensive line has question marks. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, I would love to either. I told you I wouldn't have minded if they picked up a Sam Ellinger or one of those guys that didn't get picked, Mond or one of those guys, and said, okay, we're going to start working our backup. Danny, you got to do it this year, otherwise you're going to be like Sam Darnold going out of town. We're not going to extend you. So I agree with you. Something should have been done to bring in a challenge for him. But see, the Giants, I think they have the possibility in the weak division they're in to be a playoff team. But it's like they're sitting there going, we're not ready yet.
Yeah, they're not going to be a playoff team if he goes down. I mean, I'm not even sure that he's the answer at quarterback, to be honest. I'm not sold on him. And with nobody pushing him and with no veteran behind him, what the hell are they going to do if he comes out and starts throwing picks like he has been known to do and fumbling it? I just don't get it. And you know what? The New York Jets situation, they're the team right behind them, in my opinion, because they've got Zach Wilson, who's an unknown, an unproven commodity, and they've got nobody behind him. They've got James Morgan and Mike White.
And that's even worse. Worse. At least Dan Dimes has won a couple NFL games.
Yeah.
I mean, Wilson's won nothing.
Yeah, he's never taken a snap in the NFL, and they've got no one behind. What if he gets hurt in preseason? They're going to roll out there with James Morgan, from Fordham. I mean, I don't know. And then, to be honest, I'm not in love with the Ravens situation either. Was RG3 the greatest backup quarterback in history? No, but he provided a little bit of stability if Lamar goes down, which Lamar may go down because he runs the damn ball so much. He's going to get hits. And if Lamar goes down, marching Trace McSorley out there, I just think is a bad idea.
Yeah, even though Saquon Barkley loves Trace McSorley because they're together.
Yeah, he loves him because they were buddies in college. But does he want him to be his starting quarterback? No, I don't think so.
I would hope not. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Bengals re-signed Brandon Allen, but I'm not a big Brandon Allen fan. And I kind of thought that the Bengals would upgrade their situation. I mean, obviously, they want Joe Burrow to be their quarterback. They want Joe Burrow to be healthy all year long. But, he didn't make it through a full season his first year. And, there's nothing that says he's going to make it through this year. So I'm a little bit concerned about that one. And then, I'm not so sure that I'm sold on the Colts situation either. I mean, they're very high on Jacob Eason, who they've moved into the second spot. But, Carson Wentz, shaky at best. And then your only other option is a guy who's never really played in a game. that would worry me. I would have thought they would have kept a veteran around or signed a veteran, but that's what they're rolling with. They're going with Carson and Eason.
Well, I mean, in their defense, there's not really a lot of veterans out there. Like you said, the few veterans you can get your hands on, we already know what they are. Okay, like you said, Mike Glennon's no bargains, but at least he's been a starting quarterback for a few games. In Chicago, you could try and get one of those quarterbacks off, to Nick Foles. But we also know what Foles' downside is. So there's not a lot of quarterbacks that. And I don't know if there's ever been a lot of quarterbacks like you could sit there and go, okay, if my number one goes down, this guy can slide in there for 6 or 7 games. But
but you can make moves to help your ball club. Look what Miami did. Miami, Fitzpatrick went on and he got a starting job where he's going to be the starter in Washington. But they went out and got Jacoby Brissett. And is Jacoby Brissett going to light the world up? No. But Jacoby Brissett can go in a 4-game stretch and win you 2 games easy.
Yeah, but he's the few and far between now. But I would have gone, like I said, I would have for the younger quarterbacks that were coming out that didn't get picked in the first round, and put them on my sideline learning, because as we have seen more times than not, these future franchise quarterbacks come out and most of them fail. So you're looking for another quarterback really quickly. So why not have 2 young quarterbacks out there to pick from if the first one fails?
Yeah, I don't know, but you're right. I really am. I might move the Jets up, to be honest with you. They should be higher on this list, because I'm not sold on Kyle Wilson to begin with, and the guys behind him are laughable. And I don't know. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sold on Detroit either, as they've got Jared Goff, who had missed games last year.
Middletown's Tim Boyle.
They got Tim Boyle back there. I mean, Tim Boyle's making him some money.
The pride of Middletown, Connecticut.
I'm telling you, man. I don't know. I don't know if you want to give Tim the reins. I mean, I guess he's got to be somewhat respected around the league, because he moved right from the Packers to the Lions. Maybe they saw something there, but with the offensive line that the Lions are putting out there, I could see Jared Goff going right back to the turf where he ended up at the end of last year.
Well, it is funny that we are right now at a time when you could arguably say that around the league, it's pretty solid number one quarterback situation for about 20 of the teams. But those 20 represent the 20 best quarterbacks in the world right now. The rest of them are all somewhere behind that, and it really is a bad situation. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'd love to sit there and say I go back to the 70s and say they always had good backups, but they didn't always have good backups. So it's hard to say.
But I just think it can make the difference in your season. I mean, your quarterback should go down and then you play.
Well, you have to. You have to have a good number. They say it's the most important position in the game, and yet you play that light and loose, and you have 5 running backs who have the same talent that you're paying. You know what I mean? It's like
it's an insurance policy. It really is.
Yeah.
You got to. You may never use the guy, but if you have to use him, and the guy is no good, you're in big trouble. Like the Browns. They got Case Keenum back there. Is Case Keenum the greatest quarterback in the world?
Nobody can win you 5 games.
Exactly. I would feel comfortable. He's started in this league. He's won games as a starter in this league. He knows the coach. He knows the offense. Hell, he lit it up the year that Stefanski had him up in Minnesota. So, if Baker goes down, if Baker's got an injury, I would trust Case Keenum out there. And hell, I can't believe I'm saying this, but your boy out there in Los Angeles for the Chargers, I mean, that guy has made so much money. Chase Daniel has grossed like $48 million, and he's never played in a meaningful football game. And he just keeps getting signed as a backup. And, whether how good or not he is, but now he's backing up Justin Herbert. So if you're halfway decent, you can make a living as a backup quarterback.
Tell you, he's probably got one of the best golf games in the NFL, because he hasn't had to work on being a quarterback. he could be sitting out there working on his golf game. No one else is paying attention to him. So it's like it is one of those strange things for.
Hey,
for
Clyde
the NFL.
agrees with me. He doesn't know how Glennon's on the roster either.
Yeah, I put that up there, and he also mentioned Alex Smith, but Alex Smith has retired, and he figured it out last year. So he's done with that. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up tonight. We'll be back on Thursday night. We'll find out what happened with Jonathan Wade, and we'll have him back on as soon as he can be available. We got the NBA playoffs going on. We got baseball going on. We got the hockey, if you're in the hockey playoffs. So we will be back on Thursday night to catch you all up on the rest of sports. Anything else you want to say, dude?
No, we will have a guest on Thursday. We're going to have, I think we're going to have Mike Crowder from Princeton, Princeton football player, retired Princeton football player who can come and talk to us a little bit about the Ivy League. I think he's going to join us.
Cool. That's great. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Clyde, thank you for your messages and being part of the show. Keep those coming. And, of course, we stream live on YouTube and Facebook and soon to be up on Twitter. We will see you all on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. It's the Safety and the Sportswriter with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe. Talk to you all on Thursday night.